Texas does this thing, and I don't know if it's just Texas. It's absolutely repugnant to me. They do this thing where you gotta murder the Jew, and then he resurrects as a Christian. And what I've noticed is that if there's like a big thing going on, the beginning of the cycle starts off with a murdered Jew or a dead Jew, an actual Jewish person, somebody that has pedigree, right? And then the resources end up somehow converting or getting distributed to usually some Christian charity, right? Some nonprofit organization that has some business people on the board that are connected to all of these different organizations and corporations, especially petrochem or gas and oil. And that's part of how they hook up their derivatives market. But ultimately, you need the Dead Sea minerals. You need the Jewish blood in order to distribute it, to dissipate. You need those minerals because that's the authentic shit. And then once you get that, you can recirculate it. And in some cases, it's literal. Like when they did that thing with that synagogue in San Diego, or when they did that thing with that synagogue in Pittsburgh, or when they did that thing with that synagogue in Brooklyn, or sometimes when they're setting up a really, really big nuke deal, they need to do what they did with Epstein. They waited for years and didn't make a big deal about it until they needed to implant in our unconscious this horrible, vicious Jewish sex predator. It was the same thing with Harvey Weinstein, right? Where was Anthony Bourdain? Does anybody remember? Does anybody even talk about that now? Because we're coming up around the anniversary of that, right? We don't get that because that's not how their depreciation bitch downs work. But what you need is at the beginning, you need to murder the Jew. And a couple of days, I got put into the murder the Jew paradigm, right? Now, the thing is, this is what nobody wants to be honest about. Texas and Israel have a special relationship, which means that the Jewish state has no problem playing into this. I have no evidence right now that allegations of systemic anti Semitism, except maybe for that conference of rabbis from the United Kingdom, has any intention of actually getting to the core of what this is about. I believe it's specific to a particular kind of life insurance paradigm, the way that it plays into the use of annuities and other kinds of pension benefits to allow leveraging and other finance schemes. Where it's actually originally from, I don't know, but it's a bullshit game they've been playing for hundreds of years in one manner or another. And part of what I believe is been allowed to be promulgated is that actual Jewish people with pedigrees play it too. And they will swap out them being Jewish just long enough to get something good from a Christian. And around the 80s, when they were setting up what they were setting up in Palestine and in Northern Ireland, it became a really good thing to get your fucking hooks into some good Irish stock. So that when the 90s came along, all you got to do is put in implant somewhere. Swap your securities out with the Irish girl. You get the good Irish shit, and she's running around for 10 years trying to talk to people about being Jewish. Then you kill her. Buster, man. Especially if you can make up some bullshit fabricated story about how she fucking lied about being a Jew. Then you just swap the fucking paperwork out again. The Jew dies, and then you resurrect a Christian. Nobody knows about that except in the back room, right? That's what that woman told me on the phone. With Bank of America, we're giving you a $12 risk penalty, but don't worry, it won't show up on your credit report, and nobody's going to know about it unless, they're in the back, unless they're in this part of the finance. So, on paper, somewhere in somebody's portfolio, I'm the Jew, long enough to die. And when they need a resurrection, I'm supposed to, charity is supposed to consecrate it. You understand? I don't know who you are. Did you think this was a proprietary business model? Did you patent this? Do you think that in some sort of dark room you get to play some BDSM game where you assess somebody a penalty? Or you fine them if they don't perform the role that you ascribe to them to play at the time you ascribe to them to play it? You are our Jew bitch for this amount of time. You're supposed to die so that the Christians get what they need. This is a genocidal scheme. I now know some of the actual pedigreed Jews and their good liberal stock that got my Irish. It's all over your fucking municipal financing, guys. You took it from my mother, and you killed my mother last year. You murdered my fucking mother last year before she became old enough to draw on her Social Security benefits. The problem is, you already got your initial round of actual pedigreed Jewish blood. You got it when there was an ISD bond pending in San Diego. You got it when they were about to create a bankruptcy for a, what is that, a flip on the psychiatric emergency services? So you got the good Appalachian stock after, you hooked up those deals around the opiates. I'm not even going to go into the rest of the stuff with Brooklyn. That's disgusting. But the point of the matter is that somehow I'm supposed to accept, you just gotta understand that's the way it works. And you're not supposed to talk about it, and it's confidential. And if you talk about it, because you don't have the kind of pedigree you need to be able to say you're the one being subjected to anti Semitism, then it's anti Semitism. But nobody talks about how, at strategic times, year after year, decade after decade, you literally have to liquidate Jewish capital in order to fucking be able to get the next part of your scheme on. Is that why you got Michael Flynn and Michael Cohen busted at the same fucking time? Yes, it is. Why did you bust Lanny Davis? Is it because Danny was hooking up his little diversion to the Congressional Black Caucus Scholarship Fund? I believe it is. I'm sorry. See, the thing is, I changed my shirt because somehow I'm supposed to be some Indian lady. I'm supposed to be indigenous now. And I'm supposed to give myself some sort of shamanic, like, rah, 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 go, go, go. Yes, this is the way it is, but we're going to be lucid and we're going to shine light on everybody and we're going to rise the vibration. And then when we do that, all of the people are going to get reparations for all the injustices they suffered. Bullshit. Who's the next Jew on the list? Right? Because you're not ever fucking going to acknowledge me. You're going to keep me in my room and you're going to tell me every time I'm tracking terrorists that they're not using it for evidence. And you're going to have some stupid fucking current going on in one level that's going to be like, oh my God, it's terrible. Yeah, we know. And you're just going to keep mining me. So I just want to know, on August 6th, 2020, guys, who's the next Jew on the list? Who's the next Jew on the list? Is it going to be the president's son-in-law? Yeah, it hurts, doesn't it?